Welcome back to the channel. Just look at this. One ultimate from Gogeta SS, and the entire enemy team disappears in an instant. That brings up the big question. Is Gogeta SS really the new map-clearing monster in Astral Fighter Final Z? A true damage machine capable of blowing away every obstacle if you know how to build and play him correctly. In this video, I'll break down everything you need to know about Gogeta SS, from his skills and extreme traits to the best builds, team compositions, and stat priorities, so you can decide whether he's worth investing in. First, let's talk about Gogeta SS's role in the current meta. He is a true core DPS focused on AoE nuking, meaning he doesn't just deal massive damage to a single target, he can wipe out the entire enemy team at once. With an S+ tier rating and the Eternal role, Gogeta SS is easily one of the strongest AoE damage dealers in the game right now. Now let's take a closer look at Gogeta SS's skill kit. First up is Stellar Explosion, his signature ability. At level 3, it unleashes 20 consecutive hits against all enemies, with each hit dealing 110% ATK DMG while applying 1 stack of Starburst. The real strength of this skill comes from the Starburst mechanic. Every target affected takes additional damage equal to 15% of Gogeta SS's ATK at the end of each round. The effect lasts 3 rounds and can stack up to 10 times. Even better, when an enemy carrying Starburst is defeated, it explodes, dealing 80% of Gogeta SS's ATK as damage to all remaining enemies at level 3. In other words, it's a true domino effect. One enemy falls, then the explosion helps finish off the rest of the team. This makes Gogeta SS incredibly effective against squishy lineups or enemies that have already been weakened. Next is Soul Judge. Although it's Gogeta SS's normal attack, it's as powerful as many active skills. At level 3, it deals 200% ATK KMG to all enemies in the back row, with a 75% chance to apply 1 stack of Starburst. This means that even while auto-attacking, Gogeta SS is constantly building Starburst stacks across the enemy team, setting up even bigger chain explosions from Stellar Explosion. It allows him to maintain steady pressure without relying entirely on his main skill's cooldown. The third skill is Fusion Technique, which serves as Gogeta SS's survival tool. The first time he dies, if at least one ally is still alive, he automatically revives at the start of the next turn with 70% HP at level 3. This passive is extremely valuable because, as your core DPS, Gogeta SS is usually the enemy's primary target. The self-revive gives him a second chance to finish clearing the battlefield instead of getting eliminated in the opening rounds and leaving your team without its main damage dealer. Finally, there's Soul Burn, a powerful damage-boosting passive. Every attack Gogeta SS performs deals additional damage to enemies affected by Starburst, with each stack increasing the damage by 30% at level 3. If you look at the entire kit, you'll notice how well everything fits together. Soul Judge and Stellar Explosion continuously apply Starburst, Soul Burn amplifies damage based on the number of Starburst stacks, and Fusion Technique keeps Gogeta SS alive long enough to repeat the cycle multiple times. It's a very well-designed kit where every skill has a clear purpose and works perfectly with the others. Besides his 4 main skills, Gogeta SS also has Legend talents, divided into General talents and Saiyan talents. Battle Preparation grants 10% ATK and DEF for the first 3 turns of battle, giving him a much stronger start. Defensive Stance and Offensive Stance let you adapt to your positioning. Placing him in the front row boosts DEF and Recovery, while the back row grants ATK and Healing, making these talents flexible depending on your team composition. As for the Saiyan talents, Battle Frenzy increases damage dealt by 20% against body, power, and speed enemies, while Strong Physique reduces damage taken from those same types by 20%. If you're fighting teams built around these 3 types, these talents provide a significant boost to both offense and survivability. Now let's move on to what I think is the most important part of building Gogeta SS, his Ultra Instinct base abilities and the 3 extreme trait paths. For his base abilities, Gogeta SS has 3 core attributes. Self-Ultra Instinct increases his damage based on his Ego Instinct value. Proto-Ultra Instinct improves his damage reduction based on his Ultra Instinct value. Finally, Free Ultra Instinct gives him a chance to stun all enemies, with the chance scaling from his Freedom Instinct. These 3 base abilities correspond to the 3 extreme trait paths. Ultra Ego focuses on maximizing offense, Ultra Instinct is built around survivability and defense, and Ultra Freedom specializes in crowd control. Among the three paths, Ultra Ego is, in my opinion, the best choice for Gogeta SS because it perfectly matches his role as a core DPS. At 100 points, Pseudo Ultra Ego grants a 10% base chance to trigger Heavy Strike, doubling the damage dealt. This chance also increases based on the difference between your insight and the enemies. At 300 points, Ultra Ego Omen reduces the target's defense and damage reduction whenever Heavy Strike triggers, allowing Gogeta SS to hit harder while also shredding the enemy's defenses. At 500 points, True Ultra Ego grants additional crit chance whenever Heavy Strike activates, while landing critical hits also increases the base Heavy Strike chance, creating a powerful feedback loop that continuously amplifies his damage. At 800 points, Perfect Ultra Ego makes Heavy Strike deal an extra 200% damage. Finally, at the maximum 1,1200 points, Base Ultra Ego reduces the target's healing received, while also lowering their crit resistance and damage reduction. In short, the Ultra Ego path turns Gogeta SS into a Heavy Strike machine that chains critical hits, pierces enemy defenses, and weakens their healing, making it the perfect setup for his role as a battlefield sweeper. As for Ultra Instinct, the defensive path, I don't think it's particularly necessary for Gogeta SS. A standard team usually includes 2 tanks to absorb damage, so investing heavily in his survivability feels wasteful when what you really want from him is maximum damage output. Ultra Freedom, on the other hand, is more of a niche option. It focuses on stuns, speed reduction, and buff removal, making it useful if you want Gogeta SS to control the pace of the battle. The trade-off is lower burst damage. If your goal is to maximize his ability to wipe out the enemy team in a single combo, Ultra Ego is still the clear #1 choice. However, if you're expecting longer fights where crowd control becomes more valuable, Ultra Freedom can still perform well in its own role. For stat priorities, based on how his entire kit works, I recommend focusing on the following order. The core offensive stats are crit rate, crit damage, ATK, and defense ignore. These are essential because both Stellar Explosion and Soul Judge rely on multiple hits that scale directly with ATK, while the Heavy Strike mechanic from the Ultra Ego path also benefits greatly from high critical stats. Maximizing these attributes allows Gogeta SS to deal the highest possible burst damage and fully capitalize on his Heavy Strike combos. For secondary stats, prioritize healing or HP regen to improve his survivability in difficult fights. These become especially valuable when combined with fusion technique, since the more HP Gogeta SS can recover after reviving, the more impactful his second life becomes. As for team composition, the ideal setup for Gogeta SS is a full protection strategy. High damage dealers are usually fragile, so you'll want 1 offensive support to boost his damage output, along with 2 tanks to absorb enemy attacks and keep Gogeta SS from being focused down. The longer you can keep him alive, the more opportunities he'll have to stack Starburst, trigger devastating chain explosions, and carry your team to victory. Finally, let's talk about F2P versus P2W investment. If you're a free-to-play player, Gogeta SS is still completely obtainable by saving your summon tickets during the game's special events, so you don't have to worry too much if you're on a limited budget. For players who are willing to spend, purchasing summon packs allows you to obtain duplicate copies much faster, unlocking higher upgrade tiers and significantly increasing his overall power. In other words, Gogeta SS scales extremely well with P2W investment. To sum it up, Gogeta SS is a complete core DPS whose Starburst and Heavy Strike mechanics work perfectly together. He offers some of the strongest AoE damage in the current meta, while his self-revive gives him a second chance to stay in the fight and continue carrying your team. If I had to rate him, I'd give Gogeta SS a 9 out of 10. The only reason he doesn't get a perfect score is that he relies heavily on having the right teammates around him to unlock his full potential. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. Also, let me know what you think about Gogeta SS in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next character review.